We are live and ready, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is a regular meeting for the Seldovia City Council on Monday, January 25th. The time is 6:04. We'll go ahead and do roll call. Sweat?
Here.
Goldberg? Here. Morrison?
Here.
Rojas?
Here.
Peyton?
Here.
Nathan?
Here.
All right, we do have all 6 council members present and a quorum. If everyone would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Excuse absences. We have none. Agenda approval.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion from Colbert to approve and second by Sweat. All those in favor, Sweat,
Aye.
Colbert,
Aye.
Morrison,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan.
Aye.
All right, motion to approve is adopted unanimously. Item E, consent agenda. Again, this is all items under the consent agenda are approved with a single motion, no discussion, and 1 vote. A council member may request to remove any item for discussion and a separate vote. Tonight, we have the approval of minutes for December 28th, minutes for the regular meeting January 11th, and an ordinance introduction for ordinance 2107, a non-code ordinance to the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, amending the fiscal year 2021 operating budget by appropriating and transferring funds throughout specified class line items to provide for a necessary mid-year adjustment. Do any council members wish to remove any item to vote separately on? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to make
Go
a
ahead,
motion
Vivian.
to. Okay, thank you. I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Rojas, second by Colberg. All those in favor, Sweat,
Aye.
Colberg,
Aye.
Morrison,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan.
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda is passed unanimously. And that'll leave us to item F, mayoral proclamations, none this evening. Item G, public presentation, prior notice. Each presenter has up to 10 minutes. And we will start off with HEA. We should have Bruce Shelley and Aaron McKittrick online to give us their presentation. Yeah, Bruce and Aaron, not sure if you can hear me, but if you guys are on board, I see you're both listed there. You guys can take the floor.
Sure. Bruce, do you want to go first? Because you probably have more up-to-date information than I do about recent power outages.
Come here.
He's muted. Let's see.
Bruce might be looking for his mute button there.
Well,
His unmute.
here, I can give you guys,
I've got it. I've got it. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry. I'm not used to Zoom. I'm used to team meetings, so I'm looking all over. I'm on mute, so I'm
Yeah,
ready
no,
to
no
go.
problem, Bruce. I use
I'm
both
ready.
of those as well. They're both different, distinctly different. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
they
We'll
are.
start it off.
Okay, we've had 3 outages since we had a meeting with Heidi and Crystal. We've had 3 outages since then. I've done reports. I think maybe Heidi has shared those 2 reports. I have not got the 3rd report done. But again, over across the bay, again, it is a remote location and such. A lot of times it's trees on lines. Sometimes it's just heavy, wet snowfall caused, by snowstorms. Sometimes high winds knock trees down. From the one that we had in December over the Christmas time, again, a generator and that worked as programmed. Same with the January 14th one. What happens though in an outage like that is once the generator's up, we have to go through a system where we're looking at, okay, is it safe to energize that circuit? So there's always a delay there. I know we've had some problems in the past, but again, the dispatcher will go ahead and go through that systematic approach to make sure the line is safe. Then they try to re-energize that line. Sometimes that will not work. Then they sectionalize a section of the line. So they might go at 6 Mile and say, okay, we'll stop it there. And they try again and it goes on. So that's what happens. I want to move forward though to the one that we just had here this weekend. Again, major snowstorm. I'm unaware until I get a call at home. I don't know. I hear sometimes first from Crystal or Heidi, and I'm right there to text back and forth. I will investigate. This one happened to be a pretty major snowstorm, but some winds along with that. With that, we did have a couple trees that went down on the line, but we don't know that at the time. We go to energize the generator. We did stumble a little bit there, but they did get the generator going. At that time, then they go through that process again of seeing, okay, looking at the SCADA system, which is a secure communication and data acquisition. They look at that and they can look down that line somewhat and say, okay, looks like we need to cut that off there, and then they start to re-energize. They did that, but this time we were able to re-energize up to 6 Mile. That brought the north side of Sadovia up, as well as out to 6 Mile. So the tribal village was up too. But when we went to try to energize, we looked at it, it looked safe, but when we tried to energize the south portion, and that south portion goes across the bridge there out to the airport and then down to Port Graham. At that time, we could not get that to energize. So that's why from Saturday to Sunday, there was a delay. On Sunday, we went over, we found a tree on the line, we took that off. Then we were able to energize to the north, even further up to Little Tutka. Well, we still were trying to get the south side energized. Problem is that we had a helicopter that flew crews out of not out of Homer, but actually out of Kenai because of just the numerous outages that we were having. So that was a struggle. By the time they went down, they flew that line and that they got low on fuel. It was going to get dark later that day. So they had to fly back to Kenai. So there was a delay there. I know I got on the phone to see what was going on. And we launched then later that evening, Sunday evening, with a pilot boat to get a crew over there and to look at this. Once they got over there, they were able to energize that southern portion of that line. Again, the generator wasn't a problem, but there's always that program that we've got to go through to ensure that that line is safe before we go and energize that line. So I open it up for questions. Aaron, you might have something to add, but that's what happened here in this recent outage.
Bruce, I just have a quick question on the, so when the lineman came over on the boat, and I know the first, it first came back on right around 11:30-ish there, give or take a few, and it bumped off and on a couple times, and I went to bed, and I figured when I'd wake up, it'd be on. But was it what was causing the safety issue? Did they find a blown transformer or something, or what? Do you have any idea on that?
Are you talking about Saturday night or Sunday night? Sir.
Sunday night when we finally
Sunday
got
night.
back on.
So my understanding there is they went and they did a quick check, apparently through town and that, but they went over and again, I call it a breaker, and I'm not sure it's even a breaker. It's a large one if it is, but they tried to re-energize that and back and forth, took a look at that. They finally, it caught. So again, as they looked at it, you have to realize we hate to keep trying to bump that breaker. That's like in your house. You know, if a breaker blows, well, you're going to try it once. Anybody's going to try it once. But after that, then you're a little leery. What's wrong? And that's our case. So when they went over there, they made sure the line for what they could see, and they sectionalized. So they cut Port Graham out of there so Port Graham could run earlier. But again, looking at that, they went back to the breaker. They either exercised it or that, but they got it to hold, and that's when power was back on. So I'm sure there'll be some more investigation on that.
Okay, appreciate that. Appreciate it. Aaron, did you have some stuff you wanted to add, and then we'll open it up for questions?
Sure. I think Bruce did a great job of going through the power outages. So I'm just gonna not add a whole lot, but I'll take a minute to add a couple things from the last HEA meeting that people might be interested to know about. One thing is we updated our renewable energy goal. And so now it's increased to be a goal of 50% renewable energy by 2025. And the second thing I think is really cool because it can actually might have immediate relevance to people here and throughout HEA, which is that we have a line of credit program, and the line of credit allows you to get a low interest loan for all kinds of electric appliances. This includes generators, it includes heat pumps, it includes solar panels, it includes all kinds of things. And now that's been increased, the maximum limit from 5,000 to 10,000. So it should cover more things. And so anybody who feels like they need, you know, anything, a more efficient appliance, a generator, whatever they think they need now, that hopefully that upfront cost is going to be less of a barrier. So I'm pretty excited about that and wanted to make sure everybody knew about that.
Yeah, can I add to that, Aaron? Again, that
Yeah.
line of credit program, that needed to be refreshed. And what happened is I received a call, a couple, 3 months ago that, you know, some electric bikes and that. So I pulled it back out and looked at it and I said, well, we got electric vehicle chargers, we've got heat pumps. I mean, a slew of different things there. So we refreshed that, and we even refreshed our website there. And in that refresh, if you know of a local vendor in our service area that has a service like that and would like to become part of that program, I'd ask that they get on there. They can look on that site. We have a form that they can fill out. They send it in. We look it over, make sure it is a electronic type supported apparatus in that. And if you check all the right boxes, we will approve you and add you to the list. Great program though, and we up that up to 5,000. That was a great move. Thank you, Aaron, for that.
To 10,000. It was 5,000.
10,000. I mean, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that. That's good information for the community. There's been a number of discussions here given, you know, especially with the link to this outage. people are still getting caught off guard. And I mean, we've got to understand that, yeah, we've got a generator, but weird things keep happening. And I mean, I know I watch the ball games on TV, you know, because I've got a little suitcase generator. They're $450 at Costco, you know, and I know there's a bunch of them, but it seems like everyone needs to know that, you know, if something weird happens, you got to be able to fire up a suitcase. So that's a good program, and hopefully we'll be able to put something out on the city's website about that, and just let people know if they're not seeing it in their electric bill and stuff. So appreciate that. Aaron, did you have any additional items?
Yeah, I think those were the two big things. And the line of credit program, that's not going to show up. That's something you have to apply for. But you know, if somebody wants, say, a generator and they don't have the upfront cash, they can go through any number of retailers in the Kenai Peninsula and get one of those and then pay it off over time.
Yep. No, exactly. Appreciate that. Anyone from council have any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
Yeah, go ahead, George.
I'd just like to take my hat off to Bruce and his people. I was out feeding generators last night till after midnight and ran across his crews working solidly through a couple of days. Did a tremendous job. We really appreciate it. One other thing is the great communication between you folks and the city offices, and that I take my hat off to Heidi for pioneering that. You will notice that there's not a whole lot of people shaking their fists and jumping up and down and being all upset with HEA, simply because they were pretty well informed what was going on. It makes all the difference in the world. People just knowing that folks are out here working on it. They're doing what they have to do. They have an idea what the problems are. It makes all the difference in the world. And we really appreciate that. And I hope that system will continue.
Well, I have to admit, this is Bruce. You know, Heidi and Crystal provide me some insight too, because I'm not over there, and they let me know, and we communicate back and forth, and then I post on Facebook. So they have been a help to me also.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple items. That's a great program. I'm glad to hear that people could possibly get generators through this program. That's great. Actually, I'm kind of on the other side of where Nathan was. I was totally clueless between my phone not working, not picking up, the internet was down because the power wasn't generating, spit spot. So I was one of those people who was kind of clueless as far as what was going on. Texas wouldn't go through, or they'd come down a day later. And I know when we had our conversation last time with the large community city council, we talked about, and HEA was going to talk about how do they target, how do they get the information to people who cannot get on Facebook, cannot get on the internet, period. And it's kind of tough because some people are getting that information and some people aren't. Why that is, the phone carrier we're with, I don't know. But I know that it would be great if you could call HEA's phone number, just like you can report an outage, and then actually get a little bleep saying, yes, we know you're out. This is what we're doing. We had talked about something like that. And then also doing like the Kenai Peninsula does, something in the realm of like a tsunami or an emergency situation. I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if HEA has had the time to talk about those alternatives, but I think there's a lot of people that did not know what was going on, unless I'm only the weird one in the duck in the room. But I really appreciate HEA. We smile, we give yahoos when we hear the helicopter coming in. Could you tell me where it was? Was it actually where the crew had to be on the ground trying to track down why one half of town was out, or was that something that was done up at the generator? And then also, where is it in Kenai, Soldotna, or is it in Homer that the generators is regenerized from the remotely? Is that in Kenai, Soldotna, or is that in Homer that takes place?
Yeah, I think I understand your question there on the last. So through the SCADA system, and that we're able to, and again, SCADA, I believe it is secure communication and data access. And that allows us through electronics to go ahead and remotely start the generator, remotely switch switches and load up circuits and that. So that is done from our dispatch center here in the Kenai office.
Mm.
And
Okay.
does that go through cellular or hard or through an ACS hard line, Bruce, or do you know about that?
I do not know that for sure. I don't know if that's through fiber or whether or not that's through maybe a radio system. It used to be radio system is the way we used to do that, but I'm not sure. I'd be happy though. I'll take a note on that and I can get back to you on that.
Okay, yeah, no, that'd be great, because like Vivian was saying, we had some, it's just interesting how everybody around town was affected differently on communications, and that's obviously one of the priorities that council has identified. We know we have a tough communications over here with our cellular and data, and we're obviously HEA is only a small piece of that, providing power, and how it affects the tower and the battery backups and when they die and how long the batteries last, et cetera, et cetera. So obviously we can't beat you guys up too bad over that one. That's a whole nother issue that you guys probably play a small part in. So
Yeah, but
any
I
other
do-
questions? Go ahead, Bruce.
Well, I do appreciate Vivian's comment because we had mentioned that before, the call-in number. We haven't really had a chance to look at that. I know we're working with Crystal and Heidi on a text-in program, which we would like to launch that here the 1st of February. Hopefully they're getting a few people calling in and signing up for that. And the way that will work, when there's an outage at your meter, it will automatically send and let you know, and that will let them know that we know their meter is out. So we still want your phone call, but at least we will know some information and get that out to you that way for both planned and unplanned. And as that system or that program grows, we would like to, I know in the lower 48, it can get to a point to estimate, because it'll be tracking our crews, estimate approximately when the crew will be dispatched to that location at your meter. So that is something that technology is great, but again, communications, if that's a weak link, can really dumbfound you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'm not sure if I dropped when I was talking. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you bet, Vivian, loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, Bruce, just one more thing. I'm not sure if you couldn't hear me, but thank you very much for being online with us tonight. That question was, when they found out what was wrong with the south end of Seldovia, was it on the ground that the HEA crew were actually doing something on the ground, or was it something that had to be done up in the generator? I know people
No,
ask me,
actually-
okay, I'm sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
they were actually on the ground. They checked things on the ground a little bit and then they went to the generator. So it was, I don't know what steps were totally taken, but yeah, boots on the ground.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, we appreciate you all.
Yeah, thanks, Vivian. Anyone else from council? Any other questions for Bruce or Aaron?
Yeah, this is John. I just want to make sure I got this right. It was just one breaker that couldn't handle the load from the south end of town to Port Graham. That was the problem.
Yeah, so again, can't handle the load. Yeah, it faulted for whatever reason. And again, when you're looking from SCADA, it looks clear. You try to engage it. Again, you're setting here, your eyes aren't right on it. So when that failed once or twice, that is hard on the generator as well as the breaker to keep doing that. And the fear is could be a tree. And worst case, you guys don't have a lot of cars in that, but could you envision if a car had hit a pole, the line is down on the car, and there you are trying to re-energize this line while somebody is in that car? So really, it's the SCADA thing. We can look at a number of things. We say, yeah, it looks safe. Once we try it once and it shuts down, it will not lock in. We're pretty hesitant to go forward until we can really take a look.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thanks, John. And I appreciate that response, Bruce. That puts it into, brings it completely into context in terms of safety. Sometimes that we don't think about. We just want power, but we know there's a lot of things that go into making power.
And I totally get that. I mean, nobody wishes power out on anyone.
Yeah. Any other questions from council?
May I just make one statement, Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead.
First, I'd like to say you guys are amazing. I know that your crews definitely end up out when the weather is at its worst and in the dark. And I said this earlier to somebody else. I'll say it to you. I wouldn't want to get those jobs. You guys are amazing. We appreciate the. I am with Vivian on that. When the power goes out, my cell coverage is not great. We do have a generator at our house, and so I was able to get online and see that HEA had a constant flow of communication through both through the city office and through the chatterbox, which was great. You guys are really wonderful at updating us on that. And we were able to go to a couple elders' houses and just let them know what was going on because they didn't have that cell service. But I think what Vivian's suggestion on the call-in, where you don't necessarily have to have good coverage, or you could call from a landline to report your outage and maybe get a recording that states we're aware that this area is out of service and we have people addressing the issue. I think that's a great idea going forward. But again, I would just like to say thank you so much for what you guys do for our communities here on the south side of the peninsula.
Thank you. Appreciate the kind words. And I wrote down phone call in number, and I have 2 stars next to it. So I will definitely be working that.
Good.
Cheers.
Thank you, Bruce. Yeah, we appreciate that. Okay, final opportunity. Any last comments? Okay, I think we are good. Bruce and Aaron, again, we appreciate your guys' time. Thanks for giving us the update. And then, this is good information. So we look forward to seeing you guys again next month or whenever we see you. And thanks again for attending tonight.
We'll see you next month. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome.
Thanks, you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item G2. Is Jan Weiland, was she going to call in this evening, Heidi?
Yes, we do have a Miss Jan Weiland on the line. Sorry, I'm trying to stretch and talk and do it at the same time. So Jan, you are on the line if you're ready.
Yes, hi. I hope I'm online. I'm very new to Zoom, so.
We got you loud and clear, Jan.
Oh, good. Okay. I had sent a memo around to the mayor, city council, and city manager talking about the contact that someone made with the library. And I can read that memo to you if you don't all have that. Basically what it was is a former patron contacted me and suggested that after Andy's passing that we name the library after Andy. And the library is a 501c3 nonprofit, and it's quite cumbersome to jump through some hoops to change the name, but I discussed it with some of our board, and it was suggested that since the entire building had not ever had a real official name, that perhaps that could happen, to name the building in some fashion after Andy. And the library doesn't really have any skin in the game. So whatever would happen, we would certainly support. We are simply a tenant in a city building. So anyway, I'm open to any questions that anybody has about it.
Thank you for sharing that, Jan. We appreciate that. Council, any questions or comments, thoughts from anyone?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Vivian, go ahead.
Yeah. Jan, have you talked to the Gruber family about, and if it seems like someplace in my memory, there was some acknowledgement to Susan B. English at some point about the library, but yeah, I don't think we've ever named the building, but it's a process that we would need to go through and make sure that we're not stepping on anybody's toes. I think it's a great honor for Andy, since how he was a poet and an author. But I think we need to do some research about if there was a list, or if there was something someplace in my mind. It seemed like there was something about a naming of the building in the past, but obviously we didn't do it, or the city didn't do it, but might need to investigate a little bit for history. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vivian. Go ahead, Jan, if you had a response.
Yes, Diane has worked in the library as a librarian, and we do have downstairs in our conference room, we have some honorary items in the old territorial safe honoring the Grubers. So I can check with Diane if you would like for me to, but it's just never come up. And when we dedicated the conference room, it was dedicated to Shirley Giles for all of the time that she actually spent as librarian. Because,
right.
She worked with Midge Gruber, and then she went on and for years ran that library. So the conference room has been dedicated to Shirley Giles.
Okay, so maybe that's where in my brain there was something. Great, thank you, Jan.
There's a plaque at the entrance of the conference room dedicating that to Shirley.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for that response. Any other questions? Bobby?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I am definitely in support of this. I think it would be an honor to, not the library, but I think the building in itself. You guys have to remember that Andy worked as a policeman in Seldovia for 32 years, and he is the longest running working chief in the state of Alaska. And that's quite an honor. And, he worked in that building his whole career. And I think it's fitting, if we can, to certainly name the building after him. Thanks.
Thank you, Bobby. Anyone else?
May I make another response, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, you bet. Go ahead, Jan.
Jan.
Yep.
To give you a little more information, in all the time that I've worked at the library, a lot of the tourists come in and they are asking directions, and or I'll meet somebody on the street and they're asking directions. How do you get to the library? And I say, well, it's in this building that's used for several different things. It's referred to as the multi-purpose building. Some people refer to it as the library building. So anyway, it's just it's sometimes a point of confusion. It's like trying to give somebody directions to a certain house that only has Tyvek on it. So
there's a couple of those.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, Pearlie.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of naming the building after Andy. We're dedicating the building to Andy. we can definitely have different entities in here that can have their own titles, but I think for the whole building, I'd be in favor of dedicating it to Andy.
Yeah, and I think I'll just comment. Appreciate that, Pearlie. And I think just I'd probably speak for everyone. I think most of us would all agree it's definitely befitting of someone like Andy for that for that recognition. I know there's going to be a process. This is just merely a presentation tonight, and then we'll go through the process of figuring out what we have to do to go down this road so that everyone from the public has an opportunity to weigh in. So. Rachel, did you have any comments that you wanted to add or make on this subject?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Chief Hawkins was unable to attend the meeting tonight, but when I asked him for his thoughts on the naming of the building, he said he was more than happy with having the building named after Chief Anderson, or just even the police department office named after Chief Anderson. He was in full support of either option.
Okay, appreciate that. All right, any other comments from council?
I also am in
All right.
support of that, Mayor Kimball.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm Jeremiah. Well, oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor, I have one more comment. Sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
Is this where we can direct staff to start the process of figuring out what we need to do to name the building?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, I mean, if we want to do that, that's not a problem to get the, just request that the process get started one way or another so we can figure out what that process is.
Okay, well, I'd like to request that.
Okay, is there any objection from anyone on council for request ask the city manager to get the process started on the naming of the multipurpose building?
Just one question, Mr. Mayor. Do we want to be a little more specific about what name we want?
Yeah, I don't think we need to have the specifics tonight. I think if we start the process, because I know there's going to be a bunch of people from the public that are going to want to weigh in. I think obviously the intent is to name it, after Andy, and then I think we'll be able to flesh out, the exact name, and then is it the entire building? Is it part of the building? Et cetera. So I think there'll be a little bit of a process to this just to make sure that, everyone's voices are heard, and then, and to make sure that this, that there's not other folks who have passed away in the as Vivian was alluding to, that where this may have come up. So, yeah, I think it'll be a little bit of a process, hopefully not too cumbersome, and, maybe we can get through it quicker than I think. And then, obviously the sooner the better would be my preference. Probably everyone here as well.
Well, I'm definitely in favor of naming the whole building after Andy Anderson. I don't know who A.W. Anderson is.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'll speak to that.
Yep, go ahead.
Yes, I called Donna Cobb before this whole process got going, just to double check with her and make sure that that was something that was okay with her family. And she felt very honored that we thought about doing that. And I did ask her, what she thought about the name. And she said, Andy always signed his name A.W. Andy Anderson. So, George, that should answer your question.
Yes, it does. Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate, Bobby, appreciate the expanded information on that. So yeah, that's, again, that could be, there's a number of options. And I think we, when we start the process, we get 3 or 4 of them out there. And if that's the preference, from his family and stuff, maybe that's what, the thing that we get down to when we have the final vote or whatever. So, all right, Heidi and Rachel, are you guys good with direction to see what it's going to take to get this process started?
Mayor, just to confirm, so we're first going to look into the history of the various names that could have been given to the building or rooms within the building. And then we'll initiate a process to inform the public of this project moving forward and get any public comments that we can share with council.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
You got it.
All right, thank you. Jan, did you have any closing comments, or are you good for this evening?
I just very much appreciate Bobby's comment about checking with Donica, because I think that was the very first step. I have no preference as to the name of it, because actually we have all of Andy's books in the library. We intend to keep them there. And if I can be of any assistance in providing any records or anything like that, that anybody is interested in looking in, we have document going back to 1936, actually, naming the library. So I'll be happy to provide any information I can.
Thank you, Jan. We really appreciate it. Yeah, it's sometimes simple things that we think are simple don't end up turning out to be so simple. So obviously there'll be a little bit of a process. We'll get through it, and then hopefully in the end we have a building with a name on it that we can all be proud of, and his family can be proud of. So all right, thank you, Jan. Appreciate you giving that presentation this evening.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on to item H, public presentations for items not on the agenda. Heidi, do we have anyone from the public?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I see one hand raised. It's Miss Laurel Hiltz on the line.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear, Laurel.
All right, thank you. Well, just some follow up on the conversation with HEA. Seldovia Village Tribe hosted a Ready, Set, Go presentation in July on backup generators. And I'm gonna get that information together and hopefully here soon repost that meeting recording so that folks would have an opportunity to listen through it again and just check it out for details and information. It's really great to know that the HEA will make those loans available. And we also got information from Paul Chissis on recommendations for types of generators and how to get a switch attached into your house so that you can flip those generators on when needed. So I think the really important message for the community is that everyone ought to be, at this point, able to provide their own heat and electricity as needed, especially in the dead of winter, without the assumption that the generation system will provide the backup that they need, especially when the nights get cold. So just putting that forward, and I'll make sure that information gets out there again. And I'm just trying to think through. So we did just have a Ready, Set, Go presentation this last week, and it was focused on paperwork that would be needed in case of an emergency. If you haven't had a chance to join in on the Ready, Set, Go series, I would really encourage our city council members and city staff to join in and participate. It's been 1 year now that we've had every month a presentation on something related to emergencies and life here in Seldovia. And so as much knowledge as we can have as a shared group, I think the better. So Ready, Set, Go, it'll be happening again the third week in February. Our first one again was last February, and it was specific to pandemics. And so it certainly kicked off a year of challenges as we've navigated the COVID pandemic and all of its great effects. The other thing is I'd like to just say, as a member of the public, I would really encourage the city council members to find ways to engage with the Seldovia Chamber of Commerce, whether that's coming to the Chamber of Commerce meetings or inviting the chamber to join council meetings and share. But just based upon the meeting on Friday, I just felt like there's potentially a real disconnect between the work that's being done by individual business owners and city government leadership, elected leadership. So I really hope we can come together and find a way to have a shared positive voice for our community and for our future. So those are my notes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Laurel, thank you. We appreciate those comments. Heidi, anyone else from the public?
I'm not seeing anybody at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. That will bring us to item I, Committee and Advisory Board reports. I don't see anybody signed up here. Did we have anybody that was going to be coming in at the last minute?
We don't have anybody in person, but we did receive a letter from Dr. Zink following up on his last presentation as a board member with Prince William Sound RCAC. And that's in the laydown along with a year in review report from Prince William Sound RCAC. So that is available to all of the council to look at your convenience.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I looked that over, and that's pretty detailed report there. Lots of good information in that in the information that Dr. Zink provided. So I'd encourage everyone to take a look at that. All right, that'll bring us to item J, public hearings, resolution 21-24, a resolution of the Seldovia City Council approving the City of Seldovia council priorities for calendar year 2021. Presentation by staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 21-24 is the opportunity for council to formally adopt the approved priorities for Seldovia City Council for the calendar year 2021. I wanted to congratulate council for coming together and doing the homework independently and then discussing what you see as the priorities are for the city, because that'll help staff be more efficient in using city resources to accomplish those goals. And it'll also help the public understand the direction the city is going for 2021. And so after these are adopted, we will post them and ensure that, you know, with our Facebook and website, they're available for public review, and we can get feedback from the public on the priorities that you've set. And then in the laydown packet, we provided the top, large, medium, and small priorities that you set, along with identifying the council champions involved for all of those projects.
Okay, thank you. And real quick, that's going to be on page 8 of your laydown. And that's the Seldovia City Council priorities for calendar year 2021. I'll just recap them real quick. Small was number 1 was beautification, retaining small town charm. Number 2 is improving communications with KBBI. And number 3 was finishing the Seldovia Harbor Kiosk project, which is our small buildings down there. The priority for medium priorities, number 1 was the sustainable Alaska Marine Highway system, maintaining state ferry service. Number 2 was to improve cell phone / internet capability. And then number 3 was city land use management plan. Asterisk on that that includes the evaluating city lots for parking, boat storage, RV park, lot upkeep, housing initiatives, and request planning commission review of the city's comprehensive plan and integrating these findings into the land management plan. So lots of work on all those. The last 3 was for the large priorities, and most of these involved a significant capital improvement project. Number 1 was resurfacing our roads and maintenance of those roads, whether it be D1 gravel or asphalt. Number 2 was the sewer, water, and infrastructure complete upgrade. As a caveat to that, we realized that that's a tremendous amount of money, and that's going to take some time planning, and it may be parts of town at one time that get done. Obviously, once that happens, then our roads are tore up. So the resurfacing of asphalt and water and sewer kind of go hand in hand, since both of those are nearing into their lifespan. So in many parts of town. The 3rd was the Seldovia Harbor. that includes, some new fingers and some significant maintenance in the harbor, as well as jackaloff maintenance and upgrades. So I just wanted to bring that up to refresh everyone's memory. We had the work session or the retreat to go over this with the city manager. It went very well. Pretty interesting format, but we got a lot of good information from everyone on council that participated, and we looked at everyone. So that was good. So I'll go ahead and open resolution 21-24, open for council discussion.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm totally in favor of resolution 21-24, and I'm proud of what the council put together and the staff from the city office. And I think it's a great working and living document that we've drafted. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vivian. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Vivian on that. I feel like it was a good meeting, a good workshop, and we discussed a lot of things that we might actually be able to work on. So I support this resolution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from council? Okay, we'll go ahead and open it up. Was there any public comments, Heidi?
I'm not seeing any public comments at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I'll go ahead and bring it back to the council for final action.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we accept resolution 21-24.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept resolution 21-24 with a second by Colberg. All those in favor, Sweat?
Aye.
Colberg?
Aye.
Morrison?
Aye.
Rojas?
Aye.
Peyton?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
Okay, resolution 21-24 is adopted, and that is passed unanimously. That'll bring us to item J2, resolution 21-25, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, prioritizing capital projects in the community for submission to the Kenai Peninsula Boroughs State and Federal Priorities Book and to the Alaska State Legislature's Capital Projects Database for the upcoming legislative session beginning January 2021. I'll go ahead and open it up to staff.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is something that Seldovia City Council, along with municipalities across the state, completes every single year, requesting capital funds from the legislature. I'm asking that council review this as a draft with adoption occurring at the next meeting, just to get the discussion started on what's listed out as capital priorities. Last year, council took the approach of just adopting one priority for consideration by the legislature. And I've been working with both Representative Stutes and Senator Stevens' offices, and they both say, give us everything you got. If it's a mega project, break it out into phases so we can see what to fund. But they are game to hear everything that we're working on. So I know that council in the past has requested the road grader, which is why that appears as project number 1. And our city clerk she went above and beyond and looked at all of the capital projects that the city has suggested to the legislature for funding since fiscal year 13. And you can see we've asked for a lot of funds. Usually we do submit multiple projects, but just last year we only did the road grader. So this is just to get the conversation started to see if council has any feedback on additional projects you would like to see added. And then I hope that at the next meeting, we'll have a better cost estimation for all of this work, in addition to the priorities laid out, given your feedback at tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate that. We'll go ahead and open it up for council discussion comments.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, Rachel, I just have one request, or does it even need to? be elaborated on. Where it says gravel, that's kind of, I mean, they might look at that and say gravel. What do they want gravel for? Could you elaborate and say what the gravel is for? Because if it's for resurfacing the road, that's a pretty important thing.
Yes, through the mayor, Councilmember Sweat, that's exactly what that means. I just put it on there. I didn't want to lose track of it. And I was, through council's discussion at the retreat, I'm happy to see that I kind of predicted at least one of the projects, capital funds that would help support your priorities. So I had heard from our staff that we've had opportunities, competitive funding opportunities to purchase gravel in the past, and we haven't even been able to do that. And so I saw it as a major capital request that would help the city with the resurfacing roads project. So I need to sit down with staff and get updated cost estimates, because I was told at one point Dibble Creek offered us gravel. I'm not sure at what quantity for 30,000. And I was told that was the city was unable to purchase that at that time. So I need to understand how much that is, and then we can totally that name from gravel to materials for resurfacing roads or something along that line. But I agree with you. There should be a better title for that project.
Yeah. And just one more note on what you said. I guess I personally would prefer if we could get the gravel locally also.
Okay, we will.
So anyway,
that's
that's
going to
be, yeah, and that's probably going to be more.
Okay.
More money. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Any comments, questions on the proposed capital projects?
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, George.
Gravel isn't as simple as you might think. Seems like I remember we had to import gravel from Kodiak or something to work on the airport, because federal standards for the gravel are pretty stringent. And I would imagine the state also is going to have standards for gravel, and we're dealing with some state roads here. So we need to be careful, because it'd be great to be able to get what we need locally, but they weren't able to do that in the past. For the reason that it just didn't meet the minimum standard.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, if I can just interject there. From what I understand, we can't do the state roads. We can just do our own roads. Am I correct?
Yeah, I would assume that's the case, that without DOT approval, you can't touch a
Right.
DOT road. So,
Right, we couldn't do that
but
anyway.
yeah, but there's also going to be a certain, minimum specification that we should also abide by. I mean, now we probably have a little more latitude, obviously, than a DOT project. So
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, I
Well,
think that
those
can
are all
be sorted out. That can all be sorted out during the process.
Yeah, I was going to say those are all things we need to find out. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, John.
Yeah, the resurfacing material came from Jackaloff for the state roads, so it is local.
Yep, that's correct. Yep, that was all shot out the roads. So and screened, etc. So appreciate that comment. Anyone else on comments in regards to what's on the list here?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yep. Yeah. Actually, I'm glad to see that we've got a list that's made up of more than one item. So I appreciate Representative Suit's input on that. And I think it's a work in progress that we are going to hopefully receive funding for. And we have a guide of what we need to do and where we need to go with it. Thank you very much for putting that together. And I am in full support.
Thank you, Vivian. Anyone else?
May I ask a question?
Yep, go ahead, Harmony.
On the item about the sports fishing access stairway, is that regarding the one that was donated?
If I could speak to that, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Heidi.
Yes, I do believe so.
Okay, so we're looking to reimburse for cost or?
No, I think that was just an older project that is no longer, it's been completed. There's quite a few projects. It was actually really nice to see, and I'm sorry, I'm probably speaking out of turn, but it was really nice to see in putting that snapshot together of the last 6 or 7 years, how many projects have come to completion. So good job, guys.
Sweet, draft up something that shows what you've got done and give yourself a pat on the back, you guys. Just saying.
Yeah, I see like the water treatment facilities on there. And then obviously we've had industrial building upgrades for a number of years. And I know last year we finally just said, all right, we're not getting that kind of money. That's why we lowered our expectations, but we know we need a road grader. We know how important and critical that is for snow removal and keeping our roads cleared up. So, all right, nope, sounds good. Any other comments by council?
And Mayor, if I may, I would love any feedback from council on the way the items are listed. I'm happy to move them around with council's input, and given the discussion on your priorities for doing repairs on the harbor. I learned from the former city manager, Tim Dillon, that there are a couple other phases associated with the harbor that we could ask for funds for. And I know that our harbor master does want to make improvements happen on the fingers of our harbor. So I may add that onto this list as well. But if you're okay with the order as is, I'll just stay with the same priority numbering unless there's feedback on that.
So I have a question on the sewer lift station pump replacements. So I know we've got a couple pumps coming. That's definitely a small amount in comparison to some of these other ones. Not that it's any less important, but I just wonder for a capital improvement project, if maybe some of the other ones. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but. I would think that one would be less down the list as it's a little more attainable maybe than some of the others that are going to require a significant more amount of funding.
That's a great suggestion, Mayor. Also because in the mid-year adjustment ordinance, you'll be more thoroughly discussing at the next meeting. I'm requesting funding from the general fund balance to help us buy the 2 other pumps for the slew lift station. The idea behind this was that we could then ask for funding for having replacement pumps on the shelves in case those other ones fail. But I can definitely move that one to the bottom of the list since we're already taking care of it.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, Heidi, any comments from the public?
I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we'll bring it back to council. And again, this was resolution 2125 that the staff was looking for input tonight, and then they would go back and then take these recommendations and we would be adopting at our next meeting. Any other closing comments from anyone on council? Is everyone okay with that approach on this?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right, I don't hear any other objections to that. So, Rachel, if you want to go ahead and incorporate any of those comments in that order that we had, and then we'll bring this back for final action next meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. All right, that'll bring us to, let's see, 7:08. That'll bring us to item J3, action memorandum 21-05, recommending the appointment of Rachel Friedlander as a representative for Soldovia to the Kenai Peninsula Economic Development District, otherwise known as KPED. Presentation by staff.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has come about with the hire of our new city manager. Historically, the city of Seldovia, and I apologize, page 27 of your regular packet for the action memorandum, and an attached email that follows from the mayor approving the memorandum be placed in the packet. Historically, the city of Seldovia all the communities on the Kenai Peninsula Borough have a representative on the board of directors with KPED. And historically, the city of Seldovia has had their city manager in that seat. Tim Dillon was in it, Todd Larson, Cassidy Cameron. And so now the recommendation is that Miss Rachel Friedlander follows suit and is there to represent the city for the KPED director meetings.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. We'll open it up to council comments or discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, George.
could I just ask Rachel how she feels about this?
Sure.
Hey, Councilmember Nathan, I feel like it's a benefit that comes with being the city manager here, that I do get to participate in KPED and learn more of the economic development lingo from our two former city managers who've also been in this seat. And it's not a huge time commitment, but if you need advice on grant applications, they will share grants that have been successful in the past and how they've awarded projects. And it seems like a great network of Kenai Peninsula comrades, so to speak. And Tim Dillon has shared that if I want to come to a board of directors meeting, KPED can bring me up to meet everyone in person. So once the pandemic subsides, I'd be interested in doing that, and it doesn't hurt the city finances. So overall, I think it's a great opportunity for Seldovia to network with people from all over the peninsula, especially those that have financing and economic development as their background.
Fantastic. In that case, I'd be in support of.
Good, thank you. Anyone else on council?
I have a question, Mayor Campbell.
Yep, go ahead.
So as far as these meetings go, is this something that as they come up or as they've happened, and is Rachel bringing this information back to council, back to the community, and presenting on that as it's ongoing?
You can answer if you want, Rachel, but I would assume yes, that would be a section in your manager's report.
Yes, and Councilmember Payton, anytime there's anything that could be of benefit to Seldovia, I would share it. You know, Cassidy drew my attention to the article in the Peninsula Clarion that highlighted some of the contributions KPED has done as far as CARES Act funding for businesses on the peninsula, and I put that I think as a verbal update in one of the manager's reports, and then we also featured it on our Facebook. So definitely game to share any of the resources I learn at KPED, but I don't think it's a super demanding board to be on, just because they do such a good job of informing us of everything. So I don't see it as a big time commitment. I think there's 4 meetings that they do throughout the year. And of course, because of the pandemic, they can be done remotely. So if there's any good insights in there, I'll definitely share them with council.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from council?
Yeah, this is John. George asked my question I was going to ask, so I will be in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other final comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Yep.
Go ahead,
Sorry. Yep. I think having our city manager on KPED is great networking for Seldovia. It always has been, so I'm in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yep. And I agree with everyone. I think it's again, another good opportunity for us to stay informed as a community. Obviously KPED is, trying to do what they can do to help with economic development on the Kenai Peninsula. And anytime we can get a leg up on that, it's extremely important and beneficial for our community. So that's good. All right, well, any public presentation? Anyone from the public have their hands raised, Heidi?
I don't see anybody with their hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and bring it back to final action disposition for council.
Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion that we approve action item memorandum 21-05.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept action memorandum 21-05 by Rojas, second by Colberg, I believe, and all those in favor, Sweat,
Aye.
Colberg,
Aye.
Morrison,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan.
Aye.
Motion is passed unanimously for to accept action memorandum 21-25, or excuse me, 21-05. That'll bring us to item J4, action memorandum 21-06, confirming the appointment of Paulette Bokinko to the Soldovia Planning Commission. And I know there's been a little change on this, but Heidi, I'll go ahead and let you take this, or Rachel.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I regret to inform you that I received a letter from Ms. Carluccio this afternoon expressing her regret, but that she would not be able to carry on with the Planning Commission after June 30th, if not sooner. She would love to still be able to lend her support until then, but she was able to sell her home and will be moving on from us. So she has withdrawn her name, or her application has been rescinded, and we wish her the best.
Okay, thank you. So I'm assuming we can either take no action on this.
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
May I make a, Mr.
Yep.
Mayor?
Yep. Any comments? Go ahead, Harmony.
Yeah, at the end of her letter, she states that she would be willing to, sorry, I lost which page that's on. She states that she'd be willing to stay on until we're able to replace her, or
Until June 30th is
Yeah,
her
until June 30th.
deadline, or if not sooner, depending on how the sale of her building goes.
right. So can
we're-
we keep her on as long as she's able to stay?
As
Yeah,
long
when
as
does she
she's
expire, I
willing.
guess?
June 30th.
June 30th.
June
Yeah.
30th.
Okay, so
Which is-
either way, she's still, yeah.
Yeah.
At the latest, if she has to go sooner, of course she'll have to go. But
Right.
she says she's willing to stay on, according to her letter, until June 30th, as long as she can.
Can I just say that I'm in favor of keeping her there as long as we can, until we can replace her? I mean, she's got a lot of she's got a lot of knowledge, Polly. I would hate to just say goodbye because she's submitted a letter.
Well, I
Yeah,
think we need to, don't we need to put it out there that we're looking for somebody?
Yeah.
And if somebody steps up, then she can certainly fill them in on a lot of stuff, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we would need to post and seek, but all the same, she's got a lot of knowledge under her belt. It'd be great
Oh,
to be
yeah,
able to
for
have her
sure.
pass the torch on.
For sure. I'm sure we'll get a lot of applicants.
This is John. I say we put it out there and hopefully somebody will step up soon enough that they can gain a lot of knowledge from Polly before she leaves. You know, we put it out there now instead of waiting till the last minute. Thank you.
Yeah, on a serious note, John, I totally agree with that. That's why I said that. You know, the sooner someone steps up, hopefully, then the more insight and knowledge they can gain from Polly.
Okay, so Heidi, just so I'm clear, so this new term was set to expire January of 2024. I'm assuming it was a 3-year term. So is her current term expiring this month right now?
So, and according to our code, there are 3-year terms, but it's pretty convoluted and it really refers to when the Planning Commission was originally established. But that also refers to the fact that the Planning Commission members are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the body. Polly has been appointed by the mayor and confirmed previously. She's just carried on through her years of service without the reappointment acknowledgement. And this was done as a housekeeping step so that we can begin that process of setting those terms and having the reappointment by the council when those terms came to expire. So this is a new process for her. She's just been serving since her original appointment. And if you guys wanted to amend the action memorandum to set the term to end June 30th, if not sooner at her request, that was something that you could definitely do. Otherwise, she will carry on, and that would be in our purview to allow her to do so.
Didn't we just reconfirm her a little while ago for the borough's time limit?
I would have to double check that. I know that we did reappoint Kathleen because her first term was for 1 year at her request, and then we reappointed her for another 3 years. But I'll have to double check on Ms. Carluccio.
Polly's, I think, was reaffirmed here not too long ago, a year or two ago.
Yeah. So I guess, not to beat this up, but if we take no action, she is going to still be current until she resigns basically in June or earlier if circumstances warrant. Is that correct, Heidi?
She'll be at the same status she's at now.
Okay, you're confusing me here. So,
we've never that I know of
it's
reappointed her, so she's still be the same status quo.
Okay.
I don't know if current's a great word for that.
Okay. Okay, so there's been a loophole is what you're saying. We're trying to correct the loophole here.
Correct.
Okay, without mincing words too much. All right. So then maybe just to clean it up here, then probably a good idea to, with her blessing, to amend the action memorandum to say June 30th or sooner. And then in the meantime, we go ahead and start soliciting. That way she's active and it meets the intention of the code. And then then we start the recruiting process now for another member. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds great, Mayor Campbell.
It works for me.
Sounds great.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. So Heidi, you need you want just a positive motion for that from council to go ahead and do that, and just a simple motion, and then you're clear?
A motion to accept the action memorandum 2105 with the amendment of June 30th, 2021, if not sooner.
Correct. And that'll be action memorandum 2106, I believe.
Yes, sorry, I was looking at the old one. Yes.
Okay. Oh, maybe I'm looking at the old one.
No, you're right. I was still looking at the one from Cape-Ed.
Okay. Oh, yep. Sorry. Okay. Vivian, you want to go ahead and make that motion, and or Bobby, and we'll
I'll
get
make
moving here.
I'll make a motion. We accept action memorandum 21-06 as amended.
Okay, with the new date of June 30th or
Yes.
sooner.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All those in favor? Sweat,
Aye.
Goldberg,
Aye.
Morrison,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan.
Aye.
Okay, so action memorandum 2106. Is
Point of order,
approved.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Did we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
John seconded that.
Thank you.
Okay, so 2106 is passed unanimously as amended with the new date of June 30th or sooner. And then as a caveat to that, the council would like to have staff go ahead and solicit for letters of interest for a new planning member.
May I say something, Mayor Campbell?
Yep.
So at this point, when we are doing our postings, we do the usual. We post it on the city's website. We do it in person at the city office, and when there's no COVID at the library or at the post office. Are we able to do that on Facebook as well? Can we share those to a broader audience that way? Heidi?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yes, we can. The planning commission position, there's been one that's been open for a few years.
Yeah.
And it has been posted in all the regular spots, but
Okay.
yes, definitely I will share it to Facebook.
Okay. Just add one more thing to your list.
Yes, and it's on the website on the front page. So
Mr.
it is
Right.
there.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep,
And
go ahead, John.
This is also for the borough seat as well?
Yeah, so that would have to come separately, obviously. So yeah, I'm assuming she sent the same notice. Well, I don't know if that's going through us or if she would do that directly to the borough. That probably has to go through us, right, Heidi? For her, because we have to appoint her to the borough, correct?
I'm not sure how that will work. I can bring that back to you guys.
Yeah, I was,
Okay.
this whole time I was thinking this was for her borough seat. And yeah. So we need
Yeah,
to
no.
replace her as well on the city.
Bobby, did you have a comment?
No, the action memorandum is for the Seldovia Planning Commission.
Yes, correct. But
Right.
the process is, I can't remember it off the top of my head, is I believe it has to go through Seldovia City Council to nominate her to go to the Kenai Peninsula Borough Planning Commission.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
so
that
it's-
I can't remember, but it sounds right.
Yep. So either way, she's going to be resigning, and so now she's going to stay on for a little bit, and then we will go ahead and start soliciting for a new member. And then once we have a new member, or Heidi, at the next meeting, we can check and see. If she's good for, maybe she says I can't do the. Even though she's willing to stay on, maybe she's not going to have time to attend any of the borough meetings. So maybe we need to look at someone sooner to attend the borough meetings, but maybe they're doing them by Zoom. I assume maybe they're doing those by Zoom. So maybe she's good. If you can talk to her and just get her buy-in on what we need to do, and then we can bring that back at the next meeting.
Will do, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, that is going to take us to the back page. All right, it's 7:30. Let's take a 5-minute break here, and then we'll come back and then finish up the last half of the meeting here. Yeah, let's take 5 minutes. We stand in recess.
I gotta go. Yeah, I forgot Paulie's on a double seat, city council and for.
I don't think that's the way that works anymore. That's why I don't have the information. I don't think that's how that works. But I'll look into it. It used to be, but I think that they took that away, so they want to pay for that position. She never got anything. For that reason, we were just kind of. It's in the letter. So I was kind of wondering the same thing. I was like, oh, well, it's out there. Maybe who it's to, that's what's killing me. Or if I really want to
Hey, you guys, I just wanted to let you know you're not on mute.
Thank you. Oh, it's John's.
Heidi, I'm ready whenever you, oh, there you are.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. We are here, so whenever everybody's ready.
I see Vivian back. Bobby, are you back?
I am.
Okay. We got everybody in council chambers, Heidi?
We do, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll come out of recess, back to order here. Item K, unfinished business, none. Item L, new business, discussion, Jackalope Bay dock and Tidelands lease. Go ahead, staff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For this, we have Miss Layla Jant Peterson on the line. She provided a memo, and that is in the regular packet on page, let me grab that real quick,
Maybe 31, it looks like.
31 through 40.
Okay, Layla, you're up. Go ahead and take it away when you're ready.
Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing great.
So I'm kind of put this packet together here is kind of, if you take a look at the timeline of where all of this started taking place, and that was back in 2008. The city took ownership for the Jackalope dock from the state of Alaska. And it was brought up by council to start charging fees out there in 2015. And that's when we realized that the Tidelands were never actually, the ownership was never actually transferred with the dock itself. So since 2015, we've had an application with DNR to try to get the Tidelands lease to start charging for the dock. So why we're here tonight is because we're to the point now that DNR has said that they will allow us to have that Tidelands lease. And we need to do a few things if you guys would like to pursue that. One of those things is we're going to have to get an appraisal done for the Tidelands. And right now I've got two quotes. One is for $16,000 plus travel, and I've got another one for $8,000 plus travel. One of the other fees is a performance guarantee. That's $3,000, and that's a one-time fee. And then the lease itself will be $1,250 per year. So we would like to know if you guys would still like to proceed with getting this lease.
All right, hey Layla, can you maybe just give us a synopsis? I'm looking at the report on the expenses here. So basically, we're looking at estimated management costs with Jackalope lease at $8,100, and then expenditures revenue of $6,800.
Yeah.
Assumptions on what you came up with on that, on the revenue side of things.
So on the revenue side of things, that varies from the time of the year. As everybody knows, the summer can be very busy. This time of the year, as of today, there's only one boat sitting at the dock. So we kind of put together this fee schedule example, kind of because it needs to be simplified. It would be like with a Dropbox and with the options of paying, by the phone, and they could call the harbor office. We could do that all over the phone. So we kind of rounded it to round even amounts that would be simple to use in a Dropbox. And that's under the fee schedule example at the bottom of page 32. And then the estimated annual revenue, that was kind of based on kind of what we felt that we would have. of course, that's going to change with the times and especially with the weather in the seasons. So that's kind of where we pulled those numbers from.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go ahead and thank you, Layla. We'll go ahead and open it up to council for questions, comments.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, Layla, on the fee schedule, is that from our fee schedule that we have on the books for our harbor?
Yes, so that's a
Okay.
comparison on the average of a 20-foot boat from the harbor over to Jackaloft. It is a little bit less. Like it says current fee for the daily rate. That's for a 20-foot boat at our harbor. And for
Okay.
like the example would be Jackaloft, just to round it down.
Okay, okay. And then what have we got for the transient, the people, are we able to charge per head out there? Like Mako, like we do here in town with Discovery and those guys? What's that called?
In town, we have what's called the port fee.
Right.
That we still haven't got that information if we would be able to charge that outside of city limits. Our code currently states that it's within city limits. Another thing that is still up for debate is whether we could charge tax for a Jackaloft because it's outside of city limits, so it would be borough tax.
Okay, so those are two things. So the one thing that is directly related to Seldovia about the per head tax, that's something that we would either have to change in our ordinances and make a decision about that. But that would
Yes.
be one revenue stream that we'd be missing if we weren't doing it.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor? Mr.
Yep,
Mayor? Yeah, the Jackaloft dock is the property of the city of Seldovia, and the lease that would put it in the is property of the city of Seldovia. There's got to be a way to charge to help pay for the maintenance on that. And if you go by what you just stated about inside or outside the city limits, how are we charging people for the use of the RV park, which is 1.25 miles, 1.5 miles out of city limits? If it's the property of the city of Seldovia, it should fall under the rules of the city limits. That might be something that the lawyers need to look at, but if we don't do anything, we're holding the liability on the dock, and if you don't keep it repaired, the liability goes up. And anytime somebody gets injured on it, you're liable. So it's, to me, it's not an option. It's something we need to move forward with. We get the land lease, then we can charge people and keep the dock maintained to keep the insurance level down. If you're going to pay insurance on it now and you go out and look, you're probably going to pay double or triple what you normally would. So this is something we need to do in my book. It's either that or pull the whole dock out and be done with it. And people can scream enough, the state will put a new one in, and the state will maintain it.
May I have a comment, Mayor Campbell?
Yep, go ahead.
So I guess kind of what John is saying. What is our ownership based on? I mean, could it revert back to the state and maybe we could just do a maintenance contract with the state so that we are not culpable for the expenses that it's accruing? I mean, I feel like the Jackaloft Harbor dock is such a bone of contention for some people. And it seems like quite an expense for something that we don't make any money off of, and we currently don't have any authority to maintain. I guess my question is, can it revert back to the state and maybe the city crew contracts its maintenance? Or could we just, sorry, Layla, I hope I'm not stepping on your toes here. I was 16 in 2008. I don't know why we decided to take over that dock.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Okay, I don't think it's the question whether or not what we're going to do with the dock, if we're going to turn it back to the state. We've gone through a lot of labor to get to this point, and it was a mix-up. The city thought they were getting the rights, and we fought hard to get them. What we need to do, what the council needs to do, is make sure that we set up fee schedule that works for us. And there's a lot of traffic there during the summertime and the spring and the fall, and so it's a little bit dead in the winter. Oh well, as long as we can cover expenses, and we've got people, as you see, all this work that was done was volunteer work. People care about that harbor, and they use it to get to Red Mountain wherever they're going. So it's not a matter, we're not, at least to me, we're not in a discussion at this point reverting back to where we were. We're moving forward, and we need to set our fees. The little minor detail is what Layla brought up about city tax. Okay, let's find out about that. But there's no issue about that we are legally able to charge a fee for parking at the harbor. We just need to move forward on what we're going to charge, and people will gladly pay it, especially now that all the great work's been done on it. We keep it up, up in good shape. And kudos to Layla for the hard job she's been doing during this whole thing, and the volunteer squad of getting it all in shape. And okay, thanks. That was my soapbox.
Right. I guess I definitely was not trying to disparage the amount of labor that's gone towards acquiring the dock, or the amount of labor that's gone towards maintaining the dock since we've acquired it. So just want to make sure that that's clear.
Yeah,
Can I speak really quick?
This is kind of a learning process. I know you're new to this process too. And just a quick bit of history too. When the states used to own all these docks, and then the state got out of the dock and harbor business a number of years ago, and they dangled this little carrot with all of the coastal communities with some cash in this good deal to take over these docks with this cash. Just about everybody bit. I think everybody bit. They took the money and they got ownership. And then they figured out that after about year one, all the money was gone, and they still maintained ownership and had to fix all the aging infrastructure. So that was a coup, basically. And everybody took the bait. Some communities have been able to manage and make a lot of revenue. Other communities, i.e. smaller communities that don't have the resources, don't have the people, don't have the transient, they are in a deficit. So that in a nutshell is how that system worked. So your Sewards, your Homers, your Whittiers, great deal for them after they figured it out. All your little guys like us, not so much a great deal. So so that's where we are. And that's why when we look at these numbers, even on this small of a dock, the numbers, that are projected have us at about a $1,200 a year deficit. And I have two questions. Is this dock, and maybe this was somewhere, but I don't see it here. Are we going to have any additional insurance liabilities on this in terms of annual cost, Layla, or is this just an extension of our current policy with no additional fee?
So what I've got of that is we've been insuring that dock. It was added to the harbor at no additional charge. We won't need to, the insurance that we've already got on it is plenty for right now. I mean, we won't have to have any additional insurance.
Okay, so yeah, so there's no additional cost to the budget here then. That's what I'm getting at. So there's not a missed fee that we're seeing here. The other thing is, for example, on your estimated annual revenue based on the fee, you have annual, so like, let's just take easy low-hanging fruit here, Makos, for example. Do you think you have them classified here as a 6-month transient, as 8, or as one of the annual transients?
Okay, so that's a really interesting question. At the boat harbor, what we do is if boats come in for 4 hours, there is no charge for that. And so that's kind of that would be a different area that we'd need to explore for Jackaloff, whether it be, you know, there'd have, it could be anything that you guys wanted. Because Mako technically drives in, drops off passengers and then leaves.
Okay, so they're falling under then, even though they're using it every day or multiple times a day, they're falling under that. I won't call it a loophole. Maybe it was intended, but they're falling under that caveat that they are basically exempt from any mortgage fees, whether it be transient or permanent, if as long as they're there for less than 4 hours. We
could change that for Jackaloff versus the harbor.
Yeah. No, I just so, you clarified my question, and we may have to do that to get something. I don't want to beat. They bring obviously a lot of people to our town that spend a lot of money, but at the same time, they're also a pretty major user of the docks. So, all right. Well, just thoughts to consider. I think maybe that has to be. We got to figure that out when we, as part of the fee schedule discussion. So I don't mean, maybe unless other council members want to comment on it today, but that may be one option. Maybe there's not a 4-hour exemption out there that we need to consider when we start talking about our fee schedule specific to Jackaloff.
One of the things that I would highly suggest too is, if we dig into this a little bit further, Jackaloff is still tier 1 for the state grants for matching funds. It's still tier 1. And so one of the things that we would have to make sure is that one of the requirements is that if you get a grant, they make sure that you'll be able to maintain what they give you. So our fee schedule would have to kind of match what it would cost in maintenance.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, John.
Mako, they would be paying head tax also, wouldn't they, for hauling people back and forth? And on another note, I don't know if they're still doing it, but there was a limit saner hauling skiers and snow machiners to Jackaloff that go up on the state land. And a friend of mine who goes with them all the time years ago, so they about 12 to 1,800 people a month use that dock to go skiing. They go up one day and leave the next. So the head tax should be bringing in money also. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, George.
I don't think that Mako is going to have much of a problem with paying to use that dock. They've been using it for a lot of years for nothing. And we're providing them a well-maintained, insured, serviceable place for him to operate out of. Otherwise, he's left having to drop his people off on the beach. And I think he's going to have a tough time doing that. We're providing him a service that he's been getting for free for a long time. I wouldn't think that he's going to have too much problem paying for that, as long as our fees are reasonable and within the realm of possibilities. As far as the head tax goes, that ought to be part of the deal, and he's just going to pass that on to his customers the same way as a landing fee for an airplane or anything else. It's a cost of doing business.
Yeah, thank you, George. Appreciate
that. Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a couple of comments. Yeah, from what I understand, the way we acquired the dock was exactly what you said. From what I understand was, the carrot was dangled in front of everybody and it's all about the money and that's all they saw. That being said, and answer to one of Harmony's questions. Harmony, I don't think the state wants it back, nor I don't think we could give it back even if we wanted it. Now, to not have a dock out there, to disassemble it, you know, because of the expense and everything, I'm not sure if we could do that. It would cause probably God only knows what. So I kind of agree with Vivian. We've got it. We've got to move forward, and we've got to try to charge at least some, you know, so that we can recoup a little bit of the money we spend on maintenance and whatever else we need to do out there. So, yeah, but maybe we can adjust those fees a little bit for charging, you know, because we don't have, I don't think, do we have any of the boats that just come into Seldovia, drop like Maco's, drop people off and leave? Do we have any people like that?
What do you mean? Where at Jackaloff or in Seldovia?
No, in the Seldovia Harbor.
No, there's lots of people that come in for less than 4 hours.
Yeah, but that brings. Okay, well, you were talking about possibly charging a little different for Jackaloff because of the Macos coming and going all day long with, you know, anywhere from 2 to 10 passengers or however many the boats can carry.
Right.
So that's why I was wondering if we had people like that come to Seldovia Harbor or not. Because if we don't, then yeah, we should charge accordingly out there.
Yeah, well, we have it in both places. I mean, just my thoughts, not to muddy the waters here, but yeah, obviously if, you know, he's got, I mean, it'd make most sense for him to either do a 6-month transient, you know, maybe on a number of boats. And I know he thins down a little bit in the, you know, he runs 4 or 5 boats year round. So maybe it makes sense for, you know, whatever the rate is, you know, that we come up with on the fee schedule, just so there's some rate, even if we got him to pay a reasonable rate or not. And I'm not just picking on Mako. There's a number of water taxis here. We're not talking about just about, I mean, there is 50 water taxis over in Homer. And so there's most, if not all of them, at some point throughout the summer come to Jackaloff numerous times. So I think my point is, if we were able to capture that revenue stream, I don't think we would see a deficit here at all. I think the 1 hour a day is a little light on the labor estimate. I mean, I know it's, you know, it's 20, 25 minutes one way if you're scooting along there. So that doesn't leave much on a round trip in terms of time and doing any work out there. So, but I think at the very least here, if we were able to capture that revenue stream and get this sorted out, we would not lose money on that dock.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, John.
I don't think we would lose money either, and I honestly don't think we'd make a bunch, but being so it's the city, all we need to do is cover the cost, you know, and stay ahead a little bit for maintenance, just like with the city dock, and just so we can operate it and not lose money. It makes sense, and I think Mako or anybody else would pay a fee and do the head tax thing, you know. And when I ride with Mako from Homer to Seldovia or Homer to Jackaloff, I'm going to be paying $1 a head too, or whatever it is, and that doesn't bother me in the least bit. It's everybody saying, oh, it's going to cost them, they won't do it. It's not costing him, it's costing the passengers on the vehicle. So I think it's doable myself.
May I say one more thing, Mayor Campbell? May I ask a question?
Yep, go ahead.
My question is about, so we've established we're keeping the dock. As far as fee scheduling goes, are we at all able to charge for launching? Because, I mean, I don't know what the specifications are there. Obviously, we don't have a we don't have a structured launch there like we do here in town, which we charge the launch at. But the people, for the most part, when people come back in after launching off the beach, they're parking at the harbor. I mean, I feel like that might be nickel and diming, but also if we're coming in at a deficit for maintenance, if 50 people are using the dock once or twice a month, I don't know. Is that something that we would even be able to do because we don't have a launch?
Well, Layla, you can answer that one.
That is a possibility, but I would be kind of leery about the liabilities since it's just a sand beach and not having, if a vehicle did get stuck, taking on that liability. If you charge for it, you kind of gotta
have some sort of improvement there if you're charging. Yeah, the first time
yeah
down there and get stuck on Soldovia's launch ramp because we didn't maintain it and we bought a new pickup truck. So
yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering, how that would work itself out. So I guess the second part of that question is we're bringing up the water taxis a lot about head tax, and those they're technically there for under 4 hours. Go ahead.
We can't call it a head tax. We can call it a port fee.
Port fee. Okay.
Yeah.
Port fee on
Right.
passenger vessels.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're talking about port fees on passenger vessels. Are we looking at, and we're charging rentals for people who may or may not park there? Are we considering those 30-minute? Where is the stop? Where's the line in the sand that we're drawing on how we are charging people? And who are we taking into consideration? Because there's a lot of people who want.
Maybe I'll just interject here just a little bit because I think there's two parts to this. So I think because there's a whole nother discussion on that, I think conceptually here, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I think conceptually what we're trying to do to keep this process moving forward here is figure out, just based on some of these rough numbers here, I think we all agree that there's other upside and opportunity for revenue here, as long as we maintain our expenditures. I know the next step was, which is a point of good news, because I don't think I was aware that we had a lower appraisal than our last reported appraisal of $16,000. So it was 17,000 or something. And so now we're down to about 10,000 with the one-time performance guarantee. So in the immediate conversation is, do we want to, I think we all agree we're going to keep this project going. There needs to be some work on the fee schedule, but to get the ball rolling here, we need to agree if we're going to spend $13,000 approximately on an appraisal, because there's a long lead time on all these guys and we're going to miss our window here. So I think that's at the point at hand. And then I think we move on during the budgetary process, which is rapidly approaching us. Then we start talking more specifically about the Jackaloff dock fee schedule. And that could be a whole meeting in itself, but I don't want to, if we can, in the interest of time, I want to move this along here. So I think, and I'd be willing to listen to you guys, but if I'm not mistaken, Rachel or Layla, that's what you need tonight. If we're going to keep this going, you need approval to spend $13,000 to get the appraisal ordered.
So where we're at tonight is we will need to sign an entry authorization with DNR to even allow the appraiser to step onto the state lands right now to do the appraisal. So we need to get the entry authorization signed and approved, and then we can proceed with the appraisal after that.
Okay.
But Mayor, if I may, we just wanted to get a temperature check from council on if you wanted us to continue, which is why we wanted to show you cost estimates to revenue in a conservative way. And then I also wanted to draw council's attention to the section on liability where Harbor Master details the sinking of the Leading Lady and the Kupernoff, and had we actually been holding those Tidelands leases, the harbor master states that would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for us to mediate. And so by us not having a lease to the Tidelands or owning them, we avoid that liability. And because it's not the most, enforcement is more challenging out there. That's why the harbor master put that it would require diligent checking and management to ensure that we wouldn't have to be dealing with derelict vessels. So for now, if that happens, it becomes a state issue and we don't have to foot the bill for oil spills or sinking in the Tidelands. So that's like another big part of the discussion, that while we could operate at a little bit of a deficit, hopefully is a little bit of a revenue stream, just so that we can keep putting money towards maintenance. As of now, based on what the harbor master put together, the charging of the fees will only cover the staff time. And our police chief and public works crew and the harbor master would all have to be going out to Jackaloff Dock more for enforcement. So I just want to make sure council had the full picture before we move forward. And so if you still want us to proceed, then yes, we would get the appraisal done. That's just the state's way of assuring that they're charging us a fair amount. We could even explore asking the state if they would grant us the Tidelands. The harbor master and Homer told me that is another approach that we could take, where we just ask the state point blank, give it to us. But I wanted council to have the full picture of the liability of derelict and sinking vessels out there.
I have a question.
Yep, go ahead.
I did not realize that. I guess either I missed that part or my brain didn't pick it up. But are you kidding me? So what you're saying is, if we get the lease for the Tidelands, if anything happens there, like that with a derelict boat, which is very likely to happen again, then it's our responsibility to get rid of that.
Can I answer on that?
At a potentially exorbitant cost?
Go ahead,
Yes,
Layla.
harbor master, yes.
So at the harbor, that's why we have a vessel moorage agreement. And that takes, if somebody's boat sinks, they actually are responsible for oil spills or whatever recovery is needed. And if they did not do that, then we would have to foot the salvage and then go after them at a later date to get reimbursed.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question for the harbor master.
Go ahead, John.
What became of the last vessel that sunk tied at the dock? The one they put on the beach and hauled away? Who footed the bill on that?
So the owner actually, are you talking about the Pure Sin? It's in I put together some photos for you guys. And I do believe that's the one that you're talking about.
One that had the wood stove and all the whole 9 yards in it.
Yeah, so the owner, after it was up on the beach, the owner actually hired Jim Hopkins to haul it to the dump.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, Pearlie.
Yeah, I've been trying to get on here for a little bit. I don't think we have enough money in our budget to pay the state to take that dock back. I think it's kind of a money pit. If we had the option of getting the land adjacent to it, other than just the right of way, we probably could develop that into a moneymaker. As far as charging Mako or the other water taxis $20 each time they bump up against that dock, they very seldom ever tie up. Every one of their boats and most of the water taxis are set up to launch on the beach and land people on the beach. So I think if we start charging them to use that dock, they'll just say, well, you know, we never tie up to the dock, but we're just going to nose up on the beach like we do every place else that we drop people off and don't have a dock at. I think instead of worrying about getting this lease, I think we ought to realize that it is just a money pit at this point, and bite the bullet. We should have put the money that was paid to us to take the dock over. We should have kept that in its own fund and realized what was coming down the road. I think sometimes you just got to bite the bullet, and I think this is one. And until we can get the upland lease, or if we can ever get the upland lease, I think we ought to leave it as it is and stop worrying about it. Do our little bit of maintenance, take some money from the harbor coffers or however that happens, and do the amount of repair and maintenance on that to keep it safe. I think we're just asking for a lot of bills down the road. If we legalities and insurances, and yeah, the one guy hired Hopkins to take it out, but what if he didn't pay Hopkins? We would be responsible to pay that. So I think we're just asking for a whole lot of headaches. I'm not saying take the dock out. I think it's a great addition to Jackalope Harbor, but I think we need to be careful that we're not jumping into something that's just going to be a place to put money and just call it a boat, break out another 1,000. So that's my thoughts on it.
And Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, George.
maybe first of all, we ought to have a little chat with Mako and see just exactly what he thinks about billing him for the dock. And as far as him landing on the beach all the time, there's going to be a lot of days when he could certainly make the dock that he's not going to be able to get onto the beach. I don't think just of the weather. I think the dock is it's a service that we're gonna offer, and most people don't have too much of a problem paying for a service that they need and use. The dock is far superior to having to, all the problems of having to land on the beach. That's why we have a dock. And if there's any way we can at least recoup some of our costs here, we should be diligently exploring that, I think.
Yeah, thank you, George. Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you. So, any other comments here?
Mr. Mayor.
Yep,
Mr. Mayor, if I may. Yeah, I would agree with what George just stated. I think we may need to move forward and deal with it at fee schedule time. I don't see people having a problem paying a little fee. We don't need to worry about that. I think we just need to move forward with what the item is this evening, which is decide if we want to put money towards the, what do we call it? The assessment of the property, and move forward. We've worked towards this. We can't go backwards. And I think people will pay a fee. I mean, it is the service, just like George said. I think it's an opportunity, and we're looking for economic development. Well, maybe we've got something more we can do here. This is kind of economic development. If we break even, wonderful. And like Layla said, they sign a form down at the harbor. Vehicles come in, boats come in, and they sign. And if something happens to their boat, they're responsible. If we see a derelict vessel out there, Layla tells them to move on, just like she's done in the past. But I think we just need to move forward with an opportunity that's not the best that we were hoping for, but it's an opportunity that is here. And we've been waiting to move forward on this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vivian. Any other final comments?
Yeah, I just have one more question. So Layla, hey, excuse me, you guys.
You all right?
Hey, I got to sign off for a minute. It's my aunt from New York.
Okay. That's never good because it is midnight over there. So, all right, let's see here. John, did you have something?
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree. We got to move forward. And one thing people forget about, and they're always saying we got to make money. The city is not in business to make money. We're in business to break even. And we are not in business to compete with private practice or private business. So we don't need to make a lot of money. All we need to do is cover the bills. And I think we need to move forward with it and just be done. It's either that or put it out in the middle of the bay and the state can give us the land totally, and then we can put it back in. I've said that before. We should have never took it without the land. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. Yeah, I mean, with any service that, you know, the city's going to provide, they assume a certain level of liability and risk. You know, it's no different than the Soldovia Harbor, or, you know, someone coming up into the slough. It's anything. Anytime they enter our basin, we're assuming some sort of liability if they don't want to play ball. So, yeah, that's just the way life is here. So, all right. So, Rachel, then do you want, because obviously I've seen we're not going to have consensus. So it looks to me like we're probably going to need this in the form of a motion to have you guys move forward.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yep, go ahead.
when you move to public comment, you do have a member of the public who would like to comment on this item.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Nope. Sounds good. But is that, Rachel, is that correct? I mean, from here, what I'm hearing, and when we get to that point, we're probably going to need a motion.
A motion would be great, yes.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, let's go ahead and open it up for public comment, and then we'll bring it back to council for final action.
I'm back, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. We're going to go to public comment, and then we'll bring it back for final action here.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, you have a Miss Laurel Hiltz on the line.
Okay, Laurel.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, just wanting to encourage the city council to engage and ask local community members who use that dock, maybe for their guidance and their recommendations. And then as far as other businesses that are based out of Homer, just understand that, like you said, there's a number of water taxis. Mako's the one that tends to have the most recognition and FaceTime, but in reality, Coldwater Alaska is coming in there on a regular basis, and Red Mountain Marine is using it on a regular basis, and other folks. So, but I think anytime that you talk about adding a tax on to an agency, they're probably not going to jump to say, oh, hey, let's pay an additional fee or tax. But especially if it feels like it's targeted specifically to certain people providing services. So I just think there might be some wisdom in bringing the conversation up locally, especially with those folks who are using it on a regular basis, whether it's your Buck Browns or other guys out there that, you know, they're putting their skiffs out there and they're using them and using that spot. And like Vivian mentioned, the community effort to help maintain the repairs, you know, take care of the repairs that were needed. So anyway, that's my encouragement. Thank you.
Thanks, Laurel. Anyone else? Heidi?
I'm not seeing anyone at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring it back to council then. So based on the discussion that we had, unless there's any additional comments, then we'll probably be looking for a motion in the affirmative to for direction for the city manager to move forward.
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Yep, if you're ready for a motion, I just wanted to confirm that we are making a motion for the one-time appraisal. Is that correct?
I think that's part of it. And then the authorization to sign sign the intent for the lease.
Okay, I will make a motion that the city of Seldovia partners up to sign the, what is it? The,
Mayor, if I may
qualify.
and the harbor master can totally correct me. I believe the entry of authorization
That's what it is.
Just you can hire an appraiser, go assess the tidelands. It's not us entering into a lease yet, but it's necessary if we want to go forward with a lease with the state. So if I got that wrong, harbor master, please correct me. But otherwise, that's what I believe it. You guys would be doing is authorizing the appraisal, which is, you know, between $10,000 to $13,000. And then also allowing us to sign the entry of authorization, giving us permission to hire the appraiser that can, or giving the state our approval to use their tidelands for the appraisal, if that makes sense.
Sounds good. Layla, are you confirm?
Yeah, so the signed entry authorization is just they're giving us permission to get the appraisal done.
Okay.
That's entering state lands. They want that ASAP, although we don't have to make any decisions on actually signing a lease. We have until July 31st of 2022 before that has to be done.
Okay. Okay, so this is just one step as part of the process.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, Pearlie?
So we get the appraisal done, and then if we decide that not to sign the lease, it's still going to be what was the cost? 12,000. We're still going to pay the 12,000. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe we're going to pay that. I'm assuming that's probably non-refundable.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question real quick? I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. So Layla, can you answer this for me? If I remember correctly, when we first started throwing around the idea of charging out there, we had thought that we needed the tidelands to do that. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And that's why we put in the application is to get those tidelands.
Okay.
And that is what this is for,
Yeah, okay,
is
that's
the tidelands. We actually got
right,
denied.
right. I know that. I just wondered. Yeah, because at the time we weren't sure whether we needed the tidelands so that we could start charging. That's what I couldn't remember exactly. If so, okay, thanks.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, John.
People thinking about, oh, we'll just do without charging and just pay a little bit here and a little bit there. How much was that carrot worth that they dangled in front of the old council to take that dock? How much of that is left? And how long has it been? You're looking at 5, 6, 8 grand this year. Nice big storm. You're looking at 20, 30,000 and another nice big storm. There goes another 20, 30,000. If you're thinking about it in terms of getting out of it the cheapest way you can, the cheapest way to get out of it is just to bite the bullet, spend the 13 grand, get the survey, get the upland tides, and start charging people for use like everybody else does. And if you want to just not do any of that and foot the bill for a worn out old dock, it's going to cost you more every single year. So for those of you thinking about, oh, we don't need it, that's my view on it. It's going to cost you more every single year you own it. And if you don't charge people for it, that money's got to come from somewhere. And as I said before, we're not in business to make money, so we don't have an abundance of extra money for anything. We can't afford a new road grader. So, thank you.
Okay, thanks, John. All right, I think we're ready. Vivian?
Okay, I will try this again. I will make a motion that the city of Seldovia signs the entry of authorization with the state of Alaska to move forward on the Jackaloff Harbor project. Do we need anything else in there, Heidi? Or
Survey.
just the state of Alaska? Or Layla?
Do you want to include the permission to proceed with hiring an appraiser?
And within this motion, that the authorization to hire an appraiser, yes, by the city of Seldovia.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Vivian to sign the entry of authorization and move forward with the appraisal on the Jackaloff Tidelands. And we have a second by Kohlberg. All those in favor? And let's see. Oh, sorry. Hang on. I gotta get my order here. Sweat.
Aye.
Kohlberg.
Aye.
Morrison.
No.
Rojas.
Aye.
Peyton.
Aye.
Nathan.
Aye.
Motion carries, five in the affirmative, one in the negative. So we will proceed with the motion being carried. We will proceed with the signing of the entry of authorization and moving forward with the appraisal for the Jackaloff dock. Obviously, there's another piece to this moving, down the road. As both the city manager and the harbor master stated, we have some time to finalize once this is all done. This is just one more step to finalize the lease, all the fees, etc. So there's, this has been a long road, and it's just one more step. So I appreciate everyone's time and discussion on that. With that, we'll go ahead and move
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
I'm so sorry. I think that our harbor master has a point of clarification on that motion.
Go ahead, Layla.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you have a point of clarification that you needed on that motion?
No.
Okay. Heidi, you good?
Yep. I'm sorry. I must have gotten confused with her hand raised and I thought she had a question. Sorry.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I know we're all getting Zoom fatigue here this evening, so we'll try to move this along here. So, okay, item M, administration reports. The first one up is the treasurer's report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is Jan. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear, Jan.
Okay, good. So you should have the finance report and the narrative both as they were as of January 15th, 2021 in your packet. Because it has been a long day for you, I'm just going to summarize the unencumbered funds, $217,015 as that part of the permanent fund. As you know, the permanent fund balance is static. As you can see under the general fund revenues, we are continuing to be well ahead of what we had forecast for the year. That 111% is as of the end of December. We have not yet received our funding through the property tax, personal property tax, sales tax, etc., from the borough as of January. So that's not including the January numbers. Expenditures, we're running slightly under 50% at 41 for the general fund. And as you can see, the special revenue funds are tracking. Again, they continue to track about where we expected. The dock revenue fund is running a little bit ahead, but again, that's actually fairly well on target, given that a lot of that funding is going to be based on the Alaska Marine Highway, and as you know, they're not going to be running here for the next 3 months. So that will obviously put a dent in the dock over the next quarter. So the dock is not running as far ahead as it looks. It's actually about on schedule. Harbor revenues, again, as we talked about before, look as though they're running behind. The main reason for that, I think, is just because we don't really start billing for the harbor until the end of February. So we do expect that those revenues will catch up. Same thing with the boat haul out. There'll be probably quite a bit of activity there in the spring once people are launching boats again. Audit fees continue to run ahead. A big part of the reason for that is because the FY19 audit wrapped up so late, because it wrapped up in June. The billing for that carried over into July, and so the billing carried over into FY21. And so we're kind of paying the fees for two audits within, or paying the fees for 2 fiscal years within this fiscal year. So that's one of the reasons that seems so out of balance. It's really kind of a timing issue. In terms of the FY20 audit, we are hoping to wrap that up really soon. The main outstanding issue is still settling up some revenues with the Alaska Marine Highway. We have made some good progress with that in the last week or two. And hopefully once that is taken care of, we'll very quickly be wrapping up the FY21 audit. In terms of the CARES funds, as you, I'm sure, have heard, and I think as we maybe discussed last time, the funds that we get through the state, which is I think approximately $284,000, was extended, and so those funds we have until the end of September 2021 to expend those. The borough CARES funding was not extended, but we did manage to spend that out, and so you'll be seeing hopefully in the next finance report a summary of how that funding was used. And that's all I have for the narrative, and I would be happy to do my best to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jan. I appreciate that. We'll go ahead and open it up to council for any questions or comments.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, George.
I wonder, since the Jackaloff Harbor is a possible medevac point, I seems to recall that Mako actually made some sort of an agreement with us early on in the COVID thing to be available for medevac. I wonder if we could roll some of the costs we're looking at for the dock into COVID funds. Is that even a possibility?
I don't know off the top of my head. I would have to revisit some of the language. City Manager Friedlander and I have not yet had a chance to sit down and go through some of the state COVID spending. One of the advantages of the delay in wrapping up that spending is that it gives us time to really do some real thorough housekeeping and make sure that the spending we've done on that is in line with what the legislation requires. It was a bit challenging because the funding came out and then the guidelines sort of were delayed by a couple, 3 months. And so that made it a little challenging to comply with guidelines that hadn't yet been seen. And so as we do that, that's going to give us a better sense of where we really are in that spending. What we anticipate is that we will identify probably some areas in things that were charged to COVID spending that probably don't meet the guidelines, and we'll have to pull them back out. But conversely, there are almost certainly things that we charge to our regular budget that could have been charged to COVID. And this is my very long roundabout way of saying we are a couple, 3 weeks out probably from understanding really where we are in that with those state COVID funds. But certainly I think we can absolutely look at that as a possibility as we do that math, figure out where we stand, and then to take a good look at the legislation to make sure that we are following proper protocols going forward.
Yeah, that was the only thing I was suggesting right there. Let's look at it and see if there's a way.
Thank you, George. Any other comments? All right. Well, pretty quiet tonight. I think the fatigue's wearing everybody down, Jan, so you're off the hook for tonight. So obviously a lot of information in the numbers there. So appreciate your synopsis of everything. No big surprises is the takeaway tonight. It looks like things are tracking good. And I know we've got some upside this year on property tax, sales tax. So however that's miracles working out. But so, yep, we'll keep an eye on that for months to come here as we get through all the remainder of the budget process for the rest of the year. So I appreciate that. We'll go ahead and move on to item M2, City Manager's Report. And Rachel, you are up.
Thank you, Mayor. In addition to everything that's been outlined in the manager's report, I first wanted to say thank you to Dr. Zink, not Alaska's medical officer, Dr. Zink, but the one that's on our Prince William Sound. I'm still learning acronyms here, but in regards to oil spills, I really wanted to thank him for responding to some of council's comments with his thorough report. I also wanted to share that with the internet and power being out, I wasn't able to compile the complete water consumption summary for 2020. And so I haven't forgotten about it. It's on my list to provide it to you for your next packet. I also wanted to share that the Kenai Peninsula Borough has a call line for seniors who are looking to get vaccinated for COVID-19. I know we have SVT here locally, but we could have seniors that are traveling throughout the state. And so the number that they can use, one of the numbers is 907-235-4636. And that information is also on the borough's website. So if you know of any seniors that are traveling outside of Seldovia in need of a vaccine, they can help find them a place. And then I brought this up during the work session with Commissioner McKinnon and Captain Falvey, but the Alaska Marine Highway System just released today the draft schedule for the summer season for the ferry service. And so that information will be included in your packet for the next council meeting on February 8th. And I'll be looking for your direction on how you want the city of Seldovia to comment on the schedule. Of course, I'll prepare a draft, but would love your input as well. And that's all I have. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate that. We'll go ahead and open it up to any council comments or questions regarding the written report in the packet.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, Vivian.
Rachel, I was just briefly looking over, I didn't get a chance to read your notes, but you're proposing a new process with the budget. Could you real quick tell me what's new? Where's the...
And through the city clerk's suggestion, I'll have a more in-depth schedule in your next packet. But I'm hoping to modify the budget document to include more narratives and explanations in the hopes that it'll cut down on your work sessions. I've been told you've had multiple work sessions up until the budget, but in order to increase staff capacity for preparing what I hope will be a more easy to pick up and understand budget document, I'm going to suggest that we have a meeting that discusses the schedule in addition to water and sewer utility rates. Both myself and the finance officer are going to receive training from the state on financial management of utility systems. And so I'm hoping that'll give me more guidance and working on the fee schedule for council. So that'll have a separate meeting. And then we'll just have, I hope to have for you guys a draft budget in April. That way we can introduce it the first meeting in May and pass it the last meeting in May. And we could have a work session in there just to answer any questions, but I'm hoping that the format for the budget will be clear and helping council members and the mayor understand the proposed budget for the next fiscal year. So that way it'll reduce meetings, but still accomplish the same purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vivian and Rachel, for your explanation on that. So yeah, hopefully a little more streamlined way of working through all those meetings, because there are usually a bunch of them. Any other comments or questions from council?
Just one comment on proposing a new process for the budget. I certainly hope it helps me to understand it better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, all right. Well, if yeah, there's a lot of information again in Rachel's report, so I know most everybody has either skimmed through it or read through it in detail. But if nothing's jumping out at you tonight, make sure that you shoot her an email if you need any clarification or have any additional questions on any of these specific items here. So, Rachel, thank you for your report. We appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item M3, Chief of Police report. And what page is that on?
Mayor, it's on page 82.
82. Okay, I gotta go 1, 2. Okay, there we go. And obviously, I believe Clayton is not in attendance tonight. So, does anyone have any questions on the Chief of Police report? Okay, no questions. I do see it looks like he's starting to do some work in there and stuff now, so that's good. I know it's gone through a little bit of work on previous chiefs, and then it was kind of status quo the last go around. So hopefully we'll get that back in shape here, and it'll be a little more friendlier place to go in and visit with the chief when folks need to go in and visit with him. So, all right, Harbor Master's report, and that is on page 3. I see Layla's probably left us here, so. Number of ongoing projects, number of completed projects, and a number of upcoming projects. Any questions from anyone on council on the Harbor Master report? Okay, and the final one is item M5, Public Works report. And that is on the last page of your regular packet on page 85.
Mayor, I know we don't have representatives from Public Works here, but I just wanted to give them a shout out because they changed the lights out at the dock. So now we have some visibility there. So next time you see them, please give them a thank you, especially with the windy conditions, they were still able to pull it off.
Okay, thank you for that comment. I did talk to both Jordan and John this morning too, because I had some questions about the multi-purpose building. In terms of when that generator is on, the one that serves the city generator, the one that serves the small one that serves just the Public Works building there, or the multi-purpose building, what exactly is it powering up? So it's my understanding that it's probably going to need some work over there. I mean, because I was questioning why, when we're in an emergency status, why at least some of our exterior lights aren't on outside of the fire and ambulance bays. And then I wanted to make sure that, obviously I think one of the big things was that, and Pearlie, maybe you can answer this, but when that generator's on, can you push the button and the doors work?
Yes, lights work, doors work. If the generator, in fact, when we were on a call, it went out. I don't know what happened, run out of fuel or what happened to it.
You ran out of fuel.
But it went out and we had to manually open the door so I could get the ambulance back in.
Okay.
With no lights. There was no lights or nothing worked.
Yeah. I talked to Jordan. It was out of fuel. So they learned a little lesson. He told me on that one. So it sounds like that'll be rectified next time. So so that's a 15 kW generator. That thing should be darn near able to power that entire building. It sounded like there was an issue with maybe the boilers as well, for something happened, and those were not working either. So looks like there'll be some work on that. So maybe we can talk about that in the future, or Rachel, you'll be able to talk to the guys, and we can look at, there might be some more expenditures we have to make, but that's an important building to our emergency response. So if there's some additional things that we need to take care of, we'd like to at least get those identified, and then have you take a look at that. So that was my only comment on the Public Works. Any other comments on the Public Works report?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Yep.
So the only problem with that generator, then, the reason it didn't work was because it was out of fuel?
No, it was working all day, and it ran out. It ran out last night during the call.
Oh, okay. Is that connected to the fuel tank, to the new
No.
fuel? That
No.
it's got its own fuel tank?
Got its own
Oh.
day tank, and that's part of the problem. Is it's a long, skinny tank, and there's no gauge on it. So yeah, they misread the amount of fuel in there. So that was less, because it ran for a long time. So that was lesson learned. So
Right.
yep, I don't think.
Yeah, I
that'll-
think it's real important that that gets maintained, because of that reason. Like you say, it is for medical emergencies, and if you can't see what you're doing, that's kind of hard, and you got to dink around with trying to open the doors. Yeah, it's that's an important thing that needs to be maintained and kept an eye on.
Yep.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
One more thing, Mayor.
Yeah, you bet, Pearlie.
Yeah, you're able to get in the building through the keypad. It's battery operated. So we were able to access the building, but we had no lights. And of course, everybody has cell phones who have lights on them. But yeah, so definitely needs to be addressed, but we're adaptable.
Yeah, yeah, no, there's probably a few flashlights around there, but yeah, not ideal if you're emergency response, especially after now that we got that generator working. That's a huge asset and a good generator. So yeah, so lesson learned. I think we'll be in good shape going forward here. So all right, item N, informational items not requiring action, none. No executive session tonight. Item P, council and mayor comments concerning items not on the agenda, and we'll start off with Sweat.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And again, thank the city crew for everything that they do to get all the information to us. And thanks to Rachel for her reports. They're very detailed. So that's all I've got.
Thank you. Goldberg.
Everybody for coming. It's a good meeting. Thank the office staff, Rachel, keeping the city running. Thank you.
Larson.
Yeah, great meeting. Just like to thank everybody that came, and it was nice to have the commissioner and Falvey on. I got some questions answered, but anyway, thanks staff.
Thanks, Pearlie. Rojas.
Yeah, just a big thanks to everybody who, all the staff and the council members. And it was great having that invite put out by John and George. Good job inviting the state on the Alaska Marine Highway. Thank you, everyone, for all your hard work.
Thank you, Vivian. Peyton.
Yeah, I'd just like to express our city crew is so awesome. Heidi and Rachel and Jan and the harbor master and our public works. You guys do so much. And I feel like I just can't say enough about how awesome you guys are. You guys do a lot of wonderful things. And I love how complete this packet is. You guys include so much information. This is great. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the public who participated both silently and vocally, and thank you, George, for inviting some of our representatives to have constructive conversation. That's all I got.
Thank you, Harmony. Nathan.
Kudos to Rachel for the job she's been doing and her willingness to accept additional responsibilities with the borough position. I appreciate that. And also Heidi, outstanding job of getting communication going with HEA. It really makes a big difference. Appreciate it.
Thank you, George. Yeah, I'll just wrap it up too. Yeah, appreciate the staff on the communications this weekend while I was texting back and forth avidly with a number of folks as you know our lines of communication slowly dwindled with the batteries, et cetera, et cetera. So, but yeah, it sounded like most folks were able to get the information, even if there was a little time lapse here or there, you know, based on whatever device you had that was still working. So I'd also like to thank and commend the council this evening for, you know, for the way everyone handled themselves in our the meeting with the commissioner and director of DOT and the Alaska Marine Highway. So yeah, you know, it always gets nervous when you have the you know, the people at the top. You know, we want to represent ourselves, but we still need answers, you know, that are meaningful as well. And you guys did a great job of asking your questions. And I think we managed our time well. We still were able to start this meeting on time and get through it. So I appreciate everyone's efforts, and thank you also, George and John, for spearheading that. And again, I think we were all surprised that they were actually willing to meet with us. So sounds like they haven't been doing that very often with the smaller communities. So for whatever reason, they obviously changed their minds. So, and we will hit them up again to see if maybe we can get them for one more public forum. So, all right, that's enough for me. Thank you, everyone. Next meeting, regular meeting will be held on Monday, February 8th, 2021 at 6 p.m. I'll need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any objection? None heard. We are adjourned. Okay,
right.
thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Yep.
Okay, good night.